Hi, Rosy. I'm so grateful you're here to share your experience and honestly your brilliance. Um, so I would love to know, where were you when you were first thinking about signing up for School Super Pleasure, and how did that feel for you?
So, I mean, I found out through Instagram, first of all, following you after kind of, doing the other program with Weeze. And after that program ended, I kind of like found that there were certain things that like, we've uncovered so much in that program. And then there were things that were kind of like left in a box that it was like, okay, now it's time to tackle that part. Um, which was a lot of like self-love, kind of relationship to sexuality and empowerment in that sense. And so I think one of the seal the deal kind of thing was when you did, I think it was like the other sexual radiance course back in February. And in that presentation, one of the things you mentioned was actually like coming really and like being filled with so much joy and pleasure that it overflows so that you have enough to give and you have enough to kind of pass around, but you also are coming from a place of fullness and abundance. And that resonated with me so much. Like that's exactly the feeling that I wanted to get to, and that's exactly like what I really wanted to seek as well. Because I've always felt kind of like was just giving and giving and giving, and I've always been a very kind of that person, the reliable person, the giving person. But I found that like I was giving more than I was taking in. And so I was running on more empty than abundance. And it got to a point that, I couldn't anymore. So that really resonated with me. And I mean, that's one of like the biggest reasons why I was like, okay, I think I need to do this and I need to do this now. There was just that phrase just like it stuck in my head and I couldn't stop thinking about it after that. And I was like, okay, time to sign up. So that's really what got me like through the door, among a bunch of other things. But it was that resonance of really being full empowered, and something that you embody every day, and you embody like on Instagram, you're like a whole person, like you're you show the goods, you show the bads, you show the tough times, you show when you don't want to do anything. It's just like that fullness. Like I love seeing that and that radiance in you. And so I was like, okay, if there's anybody that's gonna teach me this, it's gonna be Anne.
That is the sweetest. And tell me a bit about your journey. What did you learn? What changed for you? Like, what were your favorite parts?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard because I think everything was really life changing. I think like the progression of the program really starting with a lot of like the self love, the body love, and then moving into sexuality, kind of that flow really paved the way. So I mean, I was every part of like the course was really like amazing, and I think I got so much from it, and I definitely have the materials to go back through it. But um, I think like the self love, like the holistic self love, is something that has been stuck to me as well. And when we had to do that practice where we recorded our own like our own self-love, kind of like affirmation meditation, when I did that, I cried when I replayed it. Like the first time that I replayed it, I cried because I mean, I think I've always like, I felt like I've been pretty confident, but then have the moments. And then when I went through that whole section, I realized just how much work I really hadn't done. And I kind of was just like very surface confidence, but it wasn't really like deep, deep, deep. So when I did that one and I was like really talking to myself and telling myself, just how much I love me, and like having that replayed brought me to tears. And it was because it was, rewiring those stories, that the narratives that have been told for so long. And it's me telling myself that, it's nobody else. It's like my own validation, my own things. So that was a huge one for me to do. And also like, I think the, Oh my gosh, there's so many. I could just talk all day about it was the birthing, like the sexual empowerment birthing one. I remember that one as well because I think that was like that's kind of later in the course when we're already exploring so much. And right, sexuality is something that I've never really explored because I've never felt like I could, and I didn't have the resources to do that. They don't teach you this stuff in school or anywhere else. Nobody talks about it. So like, through the process of like learning sexuality, even just like learning our anatomy, like I was like, how have I gone my entire life without fully knowing a lot of these things? I have no idea. But that birthing point was just like taking all this sexual empowerment energy and really giving like birth, right, to this new and empowered like person and this new and empowered like feeling. Like that one, I felt a fire lit. And it was so great. And I was like growling, and I really like felt myself kind of like a rebirth, or like it's kind of like a renaissance, I want to say. Something that is awakened in me that I've never been awakened before. So that was also my favorite part. But I can go on, but that's another question.
Yeah. And how would you say your
Yeah.
relationship maybe to your body, to self-pleasure, to those aspects changed and shifted?
Yeah. They definitely shifted tremendously. I did like that we had, at the beginning of some of these sections, we had prompts, like journaling prompts to talk about where we start, kind of like, where are you now? How are you relating to your body? And then, after, it's like, how do you want to relate? So actually, like after I finished certain sections, I would go back to those first parts. And I just noticed like this, even like, the micro changes, really like in the way that I thought about sexuality and self-pleasure, right? Not covered in shame, or, with religion being so like, women are only really meant for reproduction and there's no pleasure and joy and there's a room for that. And if you do that, then you're some kind of like witch, or you're evil, or like enchantress, whatever the case is. And so like those narratives have been so prevalent that even as somebody who's like done a lot of work in decolonizing, like it's still engraved. It's still like the narratives are still deep in there. So doing those things, I was able to really like shift, and like not just talking about it and thinking about it, but like actually doing self-pleasure practices to shift the narrative and really feeling the kind of like the pleasure, the goodness in the body. It started shifting slowly and slowly. I didn't even realize how much it changed until kind of towards like middle end of the course, when I looked back and I was like, wow. I was like, it feels liberating. I don't feel the shame, like, and I mean, I noticed it too in the way that I even talk about it. And I talk to my friends who haven't done this, and I want to talk more. And I was like, I want to talk more about self-pleasure. And we get to do that in this space. And so like, that's when I really noticed the shift, that it was just, there was no shame anymore. There isn't like it was very, I definitely felt much more knowledgeable about pleasure in my own body, as well. And so like it, now it's kind of continuing, taking it as like continue, doing more curiosity kind of findings and figuring out the different flavors, which I really love, that those, that language of like different flavors of love and pleasure. And so now I get to do that with this like playfulness that it makes it fun and enjoyable. So huge shift for sure.
Oh my God, beautiful. And is there any last thing that you want to share, maybe about the community or the group experience, or any words that you would have for people who are wanting to go on this journey that are just like you?
Yeah, I would say signing up is the hardest part. Saying yes to it is hard, because I hesitated some too, because I was like, do I really need to do this? Like, I'm gonna be uncomfortable. Like, I've never talked to pleasure. I never self-pleasure, right? Like, so it was just like going from 0 to 100. And I was like, oh my gosh, I do this. I'm gonna be so uncomfortable. But then I was like, well, I kind of have to do it. I have to be uncomfortable and I have to go through the journey, because otherwise I'm never going to, like, deal with this. And so really, like, my intention was, I was brave enough to just like say, I'm going to do it. But also, like, when I made up my mind, I said, okay, like, I'm going to show up and really show up, because this is for me. And this is, just like me investing in myself in many ways, like investing in myself, like in ways that I've never done before. I've never like really done this kind of program. And it is like an investment that isn't just short term. It's an investment that I feel like a long-term effect. And I felt like I feel like all the fullness and the change. And that's what this kind of program does. And it's particularly like the community that we built. It was a community that, like, it was so much closeness and vulnerability. Like, I didn't think that was possible, especially like on Zoom with people you don't know. You're like, oh, you're like these strangers, and I'm gonna go talk about my pussy, and it's just like, yeah, you are, and we're gonna celebrate it. And so, like, it was, there was so much learning done, not even just doing the practices alone and really doing the self-exploration, but also, talking to everyone else in the community, and learning their struggles, and learning how, they're figuring things out. And, some of the prompts that you gave somebody else, I was taking notes because I was doing it too. And so, like, it was just, somebody was saying things that I've been thinking, but I'm too afraid to ask. And it was just so, so powerful. Like, there wasn't a single day where I didn't, like, kind of log of the meeting without feeling empowered and inspired by everyone in the meeting. And just in general, there was like a sisterhood and like a spirit that I can't even like vocalize, but I felt the closeness, and we still do. I mean, we're still communicating and everything. We're all Instagram friends now. But I feel the closeness with them, even though I've like never met them. I feel like true sisterhood, really.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, and just witnessing your glow is like the best thing. So, thank you, Rosy.